Hi, Pastor Nathan Decker with your hashtag Better Together devotion for today. And some of you may know this about me that I love history. I love reading about history. I love watching shows about history. I love history because I do believe, I have this firm belief that by looking back at where we have been, we have the ability to see where God has been at work, sometimes through our culture, sometimes through amazing ways of just who God shows us what to be and what not to be in the midst of history, in the midst of our understanding of our lives and ourselves. And I really do think that's true. And one of those things happened to me this week. I was watching World War II in color. I love to watch World War II videos and stuff like that. It was a fascinating time period for our history. And one of the things that the commentator made mention about the rise of anti-Semitism within the nation of Germany, that it was so easy for them because German Jews had integrated so much into society that it was easy to not know who was Jew and who wasn't in the 1920s. But that changed in the 1930s. And it was such a slow, gradual way of doing it that at first people would say, well, yeah, the Jews are horrible people, except for the ones I know. The Jews they're the reason we lost World War One, and they're the bankers and the lawyers and the crooks, and they're just horrible, except for the ones I know, except for the Rothschilds, except for the Rosenbergs, except for, and they would name them by name. My ears perked up to this as I watched this World War II in color because I heard the exact same phrases from elders as I was coming along as a teenager, as a college student, and even as a pastor in the last 4 decades of my life, which is all of my life, by the way. I've heard people say things like this. They'll say things, the blacks are really lazy, except for the ones that I know. The Mexicans, they just can't be depended, but except for the ones that I know. The Jeffersons are great people. The Diaz's awesome people, but the rest of them, no. You see, it gets really easy for us to not see people when we start bunching them up into categories and we turn them into the immigrants, or we turn them into the blacks, or we turn them into the African Americans, or the Mexican Americans, or the Hispanics, or the Latinos, whatever title you want to put on it, the Democrats, the Republicans. It becomes so easy when we start putting circles and bubbles around people and we no longer see them as human beings, but we only see them through our filters. We no longer see them as people, but we only see them through our filters, through our stereotypes, through the ways that we have looked at them and said they are not right. There is so much that we need to learn, and probably the biggest and most important thing we can do in our transformation away from these self-deprecating, tribalistic ways of viewing each other is to learn one another's name. To learn one another's name and to accept people as who they are, as human beings, as God's created divine image. I heard so often, love the sinner and hate the sin. No, just love people. See people and love them. See people and get to know their name. Show them you love them by understanding who they are and listening to their story and their journey and knowing them by name. Don't look at me as a pastor. Don't look at me as just a dad, or as a white male, or as middle class, or as someone who was a hillbilly in the Ozarks. Look at me as Nathan Decker. So many times we judge one another by covers and stereotypes and discrimination, by labels and filters. Let us see one another and know one another by name, and therefore get closer to the God who taught us how to be kingdom-minded, who taught us how to be better together.